The intensification of the international naval arms race, particularly between NATO and China, has significant implications for global security. By 2025, projections suggest an escalation in carrier group expansions, which is central to both military strategy and geopolitical influence. Key trends and projections. 1. Military buildup. China is expected to enhance its naval capabilities, increasing its fleet from 370 to as many as 435 ships. NATO's forces, primarily through the U.S. commitment, will focus on maintaining forward-deployed forces in Asia. This military posturing centers around the Taiwan issue, with an emphasis on deterrence strategies that avoid direct confrontation. 2. Economic and technological competition. The U.S. and China are engaged in competitive economic practices, including technology decoupling and trade restrictions. The U.S. has implemented policies to limit China's access to advanced technologies, particularly in AI and semiconductors. Conversely, China has vocalized ambitions to internationalize the renminbi. Although it currently holds a minor role in global transactions compared to the dollar. 3. Strategic narratives. Each country frames the other within narratives of threat and competition. The U.S. perceives China as a competitor seeking regional dominance, while China views the U.S. as an encroaching hegemon attempting to contain its rise. These perceptions influence domestic and foreign policies as well as military posturing. Key points of integration. Shared concerns. Both nations recognize the risk of military conflict escalating into a larger confrontation, particularly regarding Taiwan. The emphasis on avoiding a hot conflict underscores the need for robust crisis management and communication channels. Common goals. There is a consensus on the importance of cooperation on global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation, illustrating potential areas for dialogue despite underlying tensions. Differences between sources. Approaches to arms control. Some sources advocate for nuclear arms control dialogue, while others express skepticism about China's willingness to engage meaningfully. The U.S. views its nuclear arsenal as a deterrent, while China sees U.S. nuclear capabilities as a potential threat. Economic strategies. Perspectives differ on whether economic interdependence can mitigate conflict. U.S. analysts often argue that interdependence breeds vulnerability, while Chinese sources portray it as a pathway to mutual prosperity. Timeline of key events. 2017, the U.S. National Security Strategy identifies China as a strategic competitor, marking a shift from engagement to a more confrontational stance. 2022, the Biden administration continues this trajectory, emphasizing competition and alliance building in the Indo-Pacific region. 2023, high-level meetings between U.S. and Chinese officials signal a potential thaw in tensions, though underlying hostilities remain. 2024, the situation between the two nations remains precarious, with significant military exercises and incidents in the Taiwan Strait drawing international attention. Conclusion. The ongoing naval arms race and competitive dynamics between NATO and China underscore the fragility of global security. Both sides must navigate their mutual suspicions while recognizing the broader implications of their military and economic strategies for international stability. The next few years will be crucial in determining whether a path of managed competition can be established or if relations will continue to deteriorate towards a more adversarial posture. Strategic dialogues and cooperative frameworks may help in mitigating risks while addressing global challenges, but successful navigation of this complex landscape requires both sides to temper their ambitions and engage in constructive diplomacy. Counterintuitive information. 1. Military buildup perceptions. While the expectation is that a military buildup by China would lead to heightened security concerns in the U.S. and its allies, the text suggests that both nations are aware that such posturing does not inherently lead to conflict. This counters the intuitive belief that military expansion directly correlates with imminent military action. 2. Economic interdependence is a stabilizing factor. the narrative posits that despite rising tensions, economic interdependence could serve as a stabilizing factor. This goes against the common perception that economic ties are inherently risky in competitive geopolitical dynamics. 3. China's non-hegemonic aspirations. Despite fears in the U.S. about China's rise leading to a bid for global dominance, the text argues that China does not seek to replace the U.S. as a hegemon but rather aims for a more prominent role that coexists with U.S. leadership. This is counterintuitive to the narrative that assumes rising powers automatically pursue hegemony. 4. Potential for coexistence and cooperation. The text suggests that rather than an inevitable descent into conflict, there is a plausible scenario where both the U.S. and China could engage in managed competition and cooperation on global challenges. This contradicts the notion that rivalry must escalate to outright confrontation. 5. Taiwan is a flashpoint yet not inevitable conflict. While Taiwan is frequently highlighted as a potential trigger for conflict, the document emphasizes that both sides recognize the need to avoid military confrontation, suggesting that awareness of the consequences can lead to restraint. This counters the instinctive view that such flashpoints are always guaranteed to lead to war. 6. Nuclear arms control as a mutual interest. The increasing nuclear capabilities of both countries may suggest a higher risk of conflict. However, the authors argue this could also lead to a greater incentive for arms control discussions, which is counterintuitive given the usual association of nuclear arms with escalation rather than stabilization. 7. China's economic statecraft. The notion that China uses economic incentives and coercion simultaneously indicates a more complex strategy than merely attempting to dominate through economic means. This complexity challenges the simpler view of economic power as a straightforward tool for coercive dominance. 8. Informational statecraft's limited effectiveness. While China's propaganda efforts seem extensive, the text highlights that their effectiveness is often limited, countering the perception that such campaigns can easily sway public opinion in their favor. 9. United States economic strategy. The text argues that the U.S. should encourage the internationalization of the renminbi, which appears counterintuitive to the prevailing narrative that promotes the dollar's dominance at all costs. 10. U.S. domestic politics as a factor in foreign policy. The recognition that U.S. domestic political dynamics greatly influence foreign policy strategies toward China reflects a nuanced understanding that can often be overlooked in favor of more straightforward narratives of international rivalry. 11. International monetary system's future. The expectation that the renminbi could gain traction without displacing the dollar contradicts the assumption that a new global currency must replace the existing one rather than coexist alongside it. These points highlight a range of counterintuitive perspectives that challenge conventional wisdom about U.S.-China relations and the dynamics of global power. The report on the intensification of the international naval arms race between NATO and China projected expansions of carrier groups by 2025 and their implications for global security offers a wealth of information. However, certain critical elements may be overlooked which are significant in understanding the broader implications for international relations and security dynamics. 1. Economic interdependence versus security competition. While the report highlights military buildups and strategic narratives, it also underscores the paradox of economic interdependence between the U.S. and China. Most analysts emphasize the military aspects of the arms race, yet the economic ties between these two major powers are profound and complex. The U.S. and Chinese economies are deeply intertwined, and both nations benefit from their economic relationship despite their strategic rivalry. The significance of this economic interdependence lies in its potential to mitigate conflict. As the report indicates, while military tensions are increasing, economic ties can provide a buffer against war by creating vested interests in maintaining stability. This interdependence could lead to a scenario where both sides recognize that the costs of conflict outweigh the benefits, potentially leading to a more stable coexistence. However, the risk of decoupling in technology and trade may threaten this balance, making it crucial to monitor how economic policies evolve alongside military strategies. 2. Military posturing and crisis management mechanisms. The report emphasizes the military posturing of both NATO and China, particularly regarding carrier group expansions. However, it also touches upon the necessity for effective crisis management mechanisms to prevent escalation. This aspect is often overlooked in discussions centered on arms races and military capabilities. The establishment of communication channels and crisis management frameworks is essential to reduce the risks of miscalculation, especially in high-stakes environments like the Taiwan Strait. The potential for military incidents to spiral into larger confrontations underscores the importance of diplomatic efforts to create robust mechanisms for de-escalation. If both sides can prioritize dialogue and crisis prevention, the likelihood of armed conflict may decrease significantly. Despite ongoing military competition. 3. China's strategic calculus and nuclear deterrence. Another crucial element that may receive insufficient attention is the implications of China's expanding nuclear capabilities and its strategic calculus regarding Taiwan. As the report outlines, China is projected to grow its nuclear arsenal significantly, which could alter the deterrence dynamics in the region. The potential for nuclear weapons to become a factor in conventional conflicts is a critical consideration. If China perceives that its conventional forces are at risk, it may feel compelled to resort to nuclear options, raising the stakes significantly. This creates a dangerous environment where the US and its allies must navigate the complexities of deterrence, ensuring that their military strategies do not provoke an unintended escalation. 4. The role of third parties and global alliances. The report mentions the importance of US allies and partners in Asia. But the broader implications of these alliances are significant. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and Australia have become increasingly important in the US's strategy to counterbalance China's growing influence in the region. The dynamics of these alliances can shape the strategic environment significantly. Moreover, the perspectives and actions of third-party nations, particularly in Southeast Asia and the Global South, are essential for understanding the geopolitical landscape. Countries in these regions may seek to navigate the rivalry between the US and China carefully, trying to extract benefits from both sides while avoiding entanglement in their conflicts. Their responses to US and Chinese policies can influence the balance of power and the stability of the region. 5. Technological competition and its implications. The report outlines the technological decoupling between the US and China, particularly in advanced technologies like AI and semiconductors. This aspect is significant not only for military applications but also for economic competitiveness on a global scale. The race for technological supremacy can lead to a new form of competition that extends beyond traditional military capabilities. Understanding the implications of this technological arms race is crucial. The US and its allies may seek to maintain their technological edge while simultaneously preventing China from achieving parity. This can lead to a bifurcation of technology standards and supply chains, influencing global trade and economic relations. The repercussions of this decoupling can destabilize not only US-China relations but also the global economy as countries grapple with the need to choose sides in a divided technological landscape. Conclusion. The report provides an insightful analysis of the naval arms race between NATO and China, focusing on military buildups and geopolitical narratives. However, the significant themes of economic interdependence, crisis management, nuclear deterrence, the role of third-party nations, and technological competition are equally critical and warrant further exploration. Recognizing and addressing these interconnected elements will be essential for policymakers aiming to navigate the complex landscape of US-China relations and ensure global stability in the coming years. The relationships are not merely military but are also deeply embedded in economic, technological, and diplomatic contexts that can either exacerbate tensions or foster cooperation. 1. Military buildup and strategic posturing. The intensification of naval power between NATO and China, particularly regarding aircraft carrier expansions, is a pivotal factor in the evolving global security landscape. China's projected increase in naval capabilities, with its fleet potentially swelling from 370 to 435 ships, reflects its strategic ambitions, particularly concerning Taiwan. In contrast, NATO, led by the United States, aims to maintain a forward-deployed military presence in Asia. This military buildup is not merely for show. It serves as a deterrent against potential conflicts, particularly in the Taiwan Strait, where U.S. interests are deeply intertwined. The discussions around this buildup emphasize the need for robust crisis management and communication mechanisms to prevent miscalculations that could lead to military confrontations. 2. Economic and technological competition. The competition between the U.S. and China transcends military might and extends into economic and technological realms. The U.S. has initiated policies to curb China's access to advanced technologies, particularly in areas like artificial intelligence and semiconductors, citing national security concerns. This economic decoupling reflects broader geopolitical tensions as both nations seek to assert their dominance in a rapidly evolving global economy. China's attempts to internationalize its currency, the renminbi, while facing resistance from the dollar-centric financial system, highlight the complex interdependencies that characterize U.S.-China relations. The implications of this rivalry extend to global supply chains, trade dynamics, and the balance of economic power, necessitating a nuanced understanding of how these factors intertwine with military strategies. 3. Perceptions and narratives. The strategic narratives constructed by both the U.S. and China play a crucial role in shaping their respective foreign policies and military postures. The U.S. views China as an expansionist power threatening its hegemony, while China perceives U.S. actions as attempts to contain its rise. These narratives not only influence domestic politics but also affect international relations, as both countries seek to rally support from allies and partners. The framing of each other as a threat complicates diplomatic engagement and exacerbates tensions, particularly regarding sensitive issues like Taiwan. The shared recognition of the risks associated with military conflict escalating into a broader confrontation underscores the importance of effective communication channels to mitigate misunderstandings and foster stability. 4. Global security implications. The ongoing naval arms race and the competitive dynamics between NATO and China underscore the fragility of global security. The intertwined military, economic, and technological competition between these powers raises the stakes for international stability. As both sides navigate their mutual suspicions, the need for cooperative frameworks to address shared global challenges such as climate change and nuclear proliferation becomes increasingly clear. The potential for collaboration, even amid heightened competition, presents opportunities for dialogue that could lead to a more stable international order. How the U.S. and China manage their relationship in the coming years will significantly impact not only their own national security but also the broader geopolitical landscape influencing alliances, trade relationships, and global governance structures. Here are 3 famous historical cases that resonate with the themes of an international naval arms race and geopolitical tensions, similar to the content of your provided text regarding NATO and China. 1. The Anglo-German naval arms race 1900 to 1914. This period marked a significant escalation of naval competition, primarily between the United Kingdom and the German Empire. The British Royal Navy, which had been the world's dominant naval force, saw the rapid expansion of the Imperial German Navy as a direct threat to its maritime supremacy. The launch of dreadnought battleships by Britain in 1906, which revolutionized naval warfare, was met with Germany's ambitious shipbuilding programs aimed at achieving parity. This naval arms race exacerbated tensions leading up to World War I, highlighting how military buildups can create insecurity and lead to conflicts. 2. The Cold War naval buildup 1947 to 1991. The Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union included an extensive naval arms race, particularly in terms of submarine and aircraft carrier capabilities. The U.S. expanded its Navy significantly, introducing nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers as cornerstones of its maritime strategy. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union responded with its own naval enhancements, particularly in the Baltic and Black Sea. The competition for naval superiority was not only a measure of military strength but also a demonstration of global influence affecting alliances and regional stability throughout the Cold War era. 3. The US-Japan naval rivalry pre-World War II. In the decades leading up to World War II, the United States and Japan engaged in a naval arms race in the Pacific. The naval treaties of the 1920s, such as the Washington Naval Treaty, aimed to limit naval capabilities but were undermined by Japan's expansionist ambitions and the U.S. response to these developments. Japan's decision to expand its navy led to increased tensions, culminating in the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. This case illustrates how naval competition and military strategy can lead to direct conflict and has implications for global security dynamics. These historical cases reflect the complexities of naval arms races and their impacts on global security, similar to the current dynamics between NATO and China. Future outlook: predictions for the intensification of the naval arms race and its implications for global security by 2025. The international naval arms race, particularly between NATO and China, is poised for significant escalation by 2025, with profound implications for global security. This dynamic is influenced by a multitude of factors, including military buildups, technological advancements, and geopolitical tensions, particularly surrounding Taiwan. The following outlines key predictions and trends as well as their implications for global security. 1. Military buildup and carrier group expansion. By 2025, China's naval fleet is expected to expand dramatically, potentially increasing from 370 to approximately 435 ships. This expansion includes a focus on modernizing its aircraft carrier capabilities, which are central to power projection and regional dominance. Conversely, NATO, particularly the U.S., will aim to maintain its forward-deployed naval forces in the Indo-Pacific region, thereby reinforcing its deterrent posture against Chinese aggression, particularly concerning Taiwan. Implications: the growth of naval capabilities on both sides is likely to exacerbate tensions in the South and East China Seas and around Taiwan. As China continues to assert its territorial claims, NATO's commitment to its allies will be tested, possibly leading to increased military confrontations. 2. Technological competition. The technological arms race is increasingly shaped by advancements in artificial intelligence, AI, cyber capabilities, and advanced weaponry. The U.S. has implemented restrictions on Chinese access to critical technologies, particularly in semiconductors and artificial intelligence. In response, China is investing heavily in domestic technological innovation to reduce reliance on Western technology. Implications: this technological decoupling could lead to two separate technological ecosystems, with each side becoming more self-reliant yet increasingly vulnerable to espionage and cyber threats. The resulting technological competition will not only impact military capabilities but also economic competitiveness, shaping the future of global economic dynamics. 3. Geopolitical narratives and domestic politics. The strategic narratives framing the U.S.-China relationship will continue to evolve. The U.S. views China as a significant threat to the liberal international order, while China perceives U.S. actions as attempts to contain its rise. This mutual suspicion will likely drive both nations to bolster their military capabilities and pursue aggressive posturing in international waters. Implications: the framing of each country as a threat can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy where both nations engage in actions that increase the likelihood of conflict. The role of domestic politics in both countries will further complicate this dynamic, as leaders may find it politically expedient to adopt more aggressive stances. 4. Crisis management and communication channels. As military capabilities expand, the need for robust crisis management mechanisms becomes paramount. High-profile incidents such as military exercises in the Taiwan Strait underscore the necessity for clear communication channels to prevent misunderstandings that could lead to escalation. Implications: the establishment of effective crisis management and communication protocols will be crucial in mitigating risks associated with military confrontations. Without these mechanisms, the potential for conflict, particularly over Taiwan, remains alarmingly high. 5. Regional alliances and strategic partnerships. NATO's commitment to strengthening alliances in the Indo-Pacific will become increasingly significant. Partnerships with countries such as Japan, Australia, and India will facilitate collective security arrangements aimed at countering Chinese influence. Implications: the strengthening of regional alliances may deter aggressive actions by China but could also provoke further assertiveness from Beijing as it seeks to undermine U.S. alliances. A delicate balance will need to be maintained to avoid triggering a regional arms race. 6. Economic interdependence and trade dynamics. Despite the military competition, economic interdependence between the U.S. and China will persist, complicating the arms race narrative. Both nations rely on each other for trade and investments, which can serve as a stabilizing factor in times of heightened tensions. Implications: economic ties could provide a counterbalance to military competition, but they may also generate vulnerabilities. A significant economic decoupling could lead to increased tensions and retaliatory measures, exacerbating the arms race. 7. Global governance and cooperation on shared challenges. While competition dominates the narrative, there are potential avenues for cooperation on global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation. Both nations recognize the necessity of addressing these issues collaboratively, despite their adversarial relationship. Implications: the ability to cooperate on global issues may help to stabilize the relationship and reduce the risk of military conflict. Establishing a framework for dialogue on shared challenges will be critical in fostering a more stable international environment. Conclusion: the intensification of the naval arms race between NATO and China by 2025 will significantly impact global security dynamics. While military buildups and technological competition drive tensions, the intertwined nature of economic interdependence and the potential for cooperation on shared challenges offer pathways for reducing conflict risks. Policymakers must navigate these complexities, emphasizing crisis management and diplomatic dialogue to prevent the escalation of hostilities into armed conflict. The next few years will be critical in determining whether the U.S.-China relationship can stabilize or if it will continue to deteriorate toward a more adversarial posture.